This is Tom Rossback from Honeywell, and you're watching Control Talk Now.
Hi, this is Eric Stromquist with Control Talk Now, your smart videocast and podcast for the week ending February 22nd, 2015. I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, what's his name? Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the show, Big Dog.
Thank you Eric. Thank you very much. I'm glad you got my name there at the end there. You had me worried. I almost jumped in there.
Yeah, we've been doing this for how long? And yeah, no, I was just pretending. Of course, I know your name, Kenny, and so does Tom Rossback. So a special thanks to Tom Rossback from Honeywell for that great introduction. Tom was Executive of the Year, Controltrends Executive of the Year in 2013. So congratulations to Tom. And Tom sort of moved on to another position. Kenny, what's he doing these days?
He sure did. Right now, Tom Rossbach is Vice President, Engineering, Chief Technical Officer, Connected Homes of Honeywell in the greater Minneapolis, St. Paul area. He's taken charge of that connected home thing we keep talking about, Eric. And speaking of connected homes, I have a homework assignment to report in.
Oh yeah, you did a little shopping after my spree at the Best Buys and all. So real quick, let's set it up because you did do some homework. We talked a little bit pre-show about this, and I think this is something that we as distributors and contractors really want to begin, keep tracking. But it was interesting because Tom did such a great job with Honeywell on the commercial side, and he got transferred over to the connected home side. And Mike Keller, the year before that, went over to the connected home side too. So it seems like Honeywell is investing a lot of time and resources and money into the connected home, which, you and I have been talking about for the last couple of years. We've sort of framed it as the connected home or the race to the small space. But so, tell our listeners a little bit about your experience. You went on a little shopping spree today. Talk a bit about that, Kenny, if you will.
Well, it wasn't really intentional. It was all kind of serendipity. I went to ADI to get some security things. We needed some camera components for mounting and whatever. And, if anybody's still out there using dedicated micros from the Tritium and Honeywell side, you have to get those through ADI now. So I was out there and I bumped right into the Lyrics thermostat. Had a very prominent display at ADI. So, of course, Honeywell ADI is owned by Honeywell, but they sell all the security components, your strikes, your request to exit, anything you can imagine, wire. It's really a very unique shopping store for security components and access control, and it's very busy, and they're doing very well. But now they've introduced the Lyric thermostat. It was a nice display, and I was very curious. I asked the gentleman, how are they selling? And he said, they're moving, but nothing, it's still, people aren't used to buying thermostats at ADI. But then later on that afternoon, I go to Home Depot, and I just, out of curiosity, I had to walk back to the thermostat section, and there you had this very prominent Honeywell display, and the Nest was featured on the right-hand side, Honeywell, with a multiple array of thermostats, from good, better, best to their Lyric, and the Lyric was sold out. It was selling about $20 less. I think it was $227, and the Nest was $249. But so what we're seeing, Eric, is those channels are getting stronger, and people are going there to get their thermostats and not at their local distributor anymore.
Well, it is a trend we're tracking, and for our listeners who might know, the week before Valentine's weekend, I got Anna one of her Valentine's presents at Best Buy, and you can check it out. But the conversation basically was the guy immediately is trying to sell me Nest thermostats and Nest smoke detectors. So the Best Buy guys are sort of really tuned into selling the connected home. So I think as residential type distributors, we really need to figure out the value proposition. And it might be that a lot of these residential type distributors are bundling this with the equipment, Kenny, so that they really understand the equipment. The Best Buy guy couldn't tell you the difference between a compressor and an air point. Okay, I mean, he just couldn't. But he definitely knows the cool factor regarding the connected home and the different video cameras and things like that, which will connect right in with your Nest thermostat. And the Lyric is an interesting thermostat, Kenny. We've been tracking it for a while. And I think its claim to fame, its big differentiator is it does something called geofencing. And for our listeners who might not know what that is, essentially, it tracks you through your smartphone, if you will. So you basically connect it with the smartphone. It tracks you. So if you get a certain distance from the house, it will automatically go into a reset mode. And if you start to get close to the house, you can actually program this. It'll actually bring your systems on. So it sort of knows where you are, and we'll track it that way. Now, what I don't quite know yet, because I really hadn't tracked the Lyric much. We stock them. I think you guys probably do too, and we've sold a few. But what I'm not quite so sure about is if you got a family of four, if it's like an if this and this and this. In other words, if Ken's gone and Rita's gone and the two daughters are gone, then the geofencing gets activated. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I would think the geofencing, Kenny, would be great for like if you had a second home, like a summer vacation home or something like that. Or up north, maybe a winter home. I'm not sure. But any more thoughts on that? The Lyric is kind of interesting. I mean, we saw that big commercial that they came out with, right, with the guy, and we saw that on national TV for a while. Now, I don't watch much TV, Kenny. I know you probably don't either, but I haven't seen that commercial on in a while. Have you?
No, the talking thermostat commercial kind of went away. But I think what's happening is, Eric, the thermostat market is such a tremendous, large market, and there's so much, room out there. It takes us right into our next theme, which is that co-opetition. But the thing about Honeywell in their Lyric is they're playing off the round thermostat, the form function. In 1953, Honeywell changed the thermostat appearance with the introduction of the round thermostat, and 60 years later, they're still using a round thermostat, and the Lyric's a pretty thermostat. So when you're having the like new apartments with new houses being built, and you want to maintain that just kind of a crisp designer edge, the Lyric certainly is a player, as is Nest, and as is that ecobee, that new ecobee 3. That's
a good looking stat. That's a really good looking stat.
And that one does averaging, so everybody's going after this in a different way. But what I think the Lyric does in geofencing is that they have the ability now to contribute information into the smart grid. And that's where it's at. So the it's a one step beyond all that. In the geofencing thing, by the way, they have a nice little they have a website on the features and support for Lyric and how to set up the geofencing. But basically, it's to go to geofencing, you need to create 2 shortcuts in your Lyric app, creating a shortcut automatically shared by all the users with access to your thermostat location. So you're talking about the kids leaving and whatever. The second. So it choose your geofencing perimeter. The Lyric thermostat app comes set to a 2-mile geofencing perimeter. You can choose between a quarter mile, 2 mile, 4 miles, 7 miles. And steps will vary by your mobile device operating system. And to watch how this works, there's a YouTube. So you're talking great technology, but the bottom line is these thermostats are making the smart grid a reality, and that's where it's at. That's where if no one's home and you don't need the power to your house for your heating, cooling, and whatever, the ability for that power to be redistributed is critical. So I think it's.
Kenny, my question though, we talked about this on previous shows with the Middle East lowering the price of oil so much. I mean, if they keep the price of oil down like it is, I mean, how are you going to get your tax dollars to pay for some of the smart grid stuff? I mean, I'm wondering if we've talked about this before, and I ask any of our listeners to reach out in comments and let us know your thoughts, because I'm not a political animal, Kenny, and I don't keep up with it much, but it just sort of seems like that move, given all the momentum we had with the smart grid, like you said, and the energy saving devices and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden the price of oil dropped so much. What kind of effect is that going to have on the smart grid? I mean, is that going to derail it, you think, or is it?
No, I don't see it at all. I think it's actually 2 separate considerations. In other words, we're not building any more power plants. So I think what happens, so we have an established amount of generation capability. And right now, so much of that is wasted through the transmission. They've got a lot to do. They got to repair their lines and make the lines so they don't lose a lot of electricity through the lines. I guess if they droop or whatever, they lose so much of their what they're able to transmit. And so they're correcting that. So what I think is going to happen, Eric, is we're going to be able to, like, electric is going to become more important. Your electric car, for instance, I see the demand for electricity. Now, the cost of oil, I can't translate that directly into the power in the smart grid, because I think they're 2 separate initiatives where the oil, and to me, I see that primarily in the transportation industries and in power generating to a certain extent, but I don't see a direct correlation where if they keep dropping the price of oil, it would make the smart grid or the advancements of the smart grid. I don't see how it would deter that or slow it down, because I don't think it's all about energy savings. I think it's about energy efficiency, and it's something the government has to do because they're not going to build any more power plants. So I don't know if I explained that well, but
No, you explained it great, Kenny. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. It's very encouraging. And of course, yours truly. Here's a control tip of the week. Have a friend of mine who's a big investor, and he invested it. And I just bought the Tesla, so I bought Tesla stock for my retirement account, and then bought quite a few oil stocks for the retirement account about 3 days before they made this announcement. So yours truly is down about 30% on these investments. So a couple of things: never listen to your friends when they ask you to invest, and definitely don't listen to me. So if I tell you to do something, do the opposite, and you'll do well, because I tell you, the whole stock market is rigged against me. I am a great barometer. Whatever I do the opposite, and you'll do well. So Kenny, man, we had a big week. Let's you alluded to it a minute ago. Let's get into this whole thing with the John Petsy and Ken Sinclair and the connected community collaboratory, and let's rock and roll. Let's get started with that, because that was a great video, John Petsy.
Yeah, it was part 4, John Petsy at the 2015 Connected Community Collaboratory, and he's been around and watched. I think they said 1987, but he just has an amazing experience. He started out in the trenches, worked his way up to the CEO of a couple different companies, Andover, Tritium, and he knows what he's talking about. But then at some point he breaks it down to a real simple explanation, about we have, despite all our protocols and advancements, we have no semantics, no metadata to make point names with information. The manual effort required that blocks getting data from the controller to the building is and that's where you get all your value from the data. He can't understand why we're not getting a greater movement towards the semantic and tagging, because and I think he talks about haystack. Read data that comes from with the facts, the room temperature, the air handler. This is my schedule, et cetera, and so that it would actually make the efficiencies, the economies of scales that we want with information possible. So he's a champion of that.
Right, Kenny. Well, I heard a couple of things in that video. Definitely check it out, because it's just rich with some great quotes. But a couple of things I heard, not just from him, but from Andy McMillan and several of the speakers at the collective Connected Collaboratory, Ken Sinclair's group of industry leaders that he got together.
Very few devices actually exchange data with each other. We know in a building automation system, the VAV controller talks to the air handler controller. So when you go up on the floor and all those different things, I'll give you the example of meters. Meters aren't talking to other meters. Meters are just trying to send data to some application that wants to look at it, analyze it, or plot it. So I don't think we should get overly carried away with all of the devices are going to talk to each other. They're not going to, because they don't have anything to say to each other.
And part of what I heard with John and Andy is that you really have to, for an owner, you have to make it relevant to them. It has to increase their sales, their productivity, energy savings is a bonus, which we talked about last week.
Right, we talk to CEOs instead of just CFOs. If we can say, hey, Mr. Hospital owner, people will go home sooner if you put in this automation platform. They would pay attention in a way they won't pay attention when you say you can save some money, or even you can be more socially responsible. You can tell a retailer you will sell more, and you'll sell more of the things you really want to sell. That's much more compelling than you'll save some money on energy. And I think that's the world we're moving to.
And one of the things that John is saying is that you have to have a standard. He's very much, I think, Kenny, advocating Haystack, which is a tagging convention that several of the industry giants have gotten together and agreed upon, the competitors, as we talk about. But the best line in that whole thing to me, Kenny, is when John Petsy says, well, to think that all these things are going to talk to each other about everything is kind of ridiculous, because if you think about it, they really don't have much to say to each other, which I thought was a great quote there. But I think you get to the whole in Haystack thing, and I've covered Haystack and that whole thing. So I think tell our listeners a little bit about what that's all about, because that's a really cool concept, and then how it kind of goes vis-a-vis this whole theme that you and I have been, this trend we've been tracking about the redefinition of competition. And
Sure. Well, first of all, last week I think I said that it was an annual event. It isn't. Project Haystack is a semi-annual event. Every 2 years, they have a come to meeting with some very, very prominent people in the automation and in the industry. Led by the Frank family. But the area of focus is how to make data self-describing and easily consumed to immediate devices, value to the building owner, so that each device, like you said, meters don't talk to meters. Meters talk directly to the building management system and what's going on as far as energy consumption. So John's point was that you don't have meters talk. Meter A is not talking to meter B. There's no reason for them to exchange information. So the Project Haystack is about, it's an open protocol. And it's open source. People that want to get involved can take the compilation wherever how far advanced they are, and take that to their own advantage, and then use it for their own products or their own tagging requirements. So it's one of the fun things to develop. You see in our industry, we work every day. We make a living through the automation distribution business, but we've seen these other projects develop on the sides, and you wonder one day when that's going to intersect and really impact with our day-to-day business. Where it will impact the way protocols are being used, and instead of protocols, you'll just use metadata. Do you think do you think the semantics that comes from smart tagging?
I think the semantics is a really cool piece of it, Kenny. I think a bigger thing to me is the fact that you still have, and this is a trend we've talked about and will continue to talk about. I think the big thing is the rules of engagement, the rules of competition. Because if you look at Haystack, you've got companies that compete against each other that have come together to agree to this standard, so that it's better for the owner. I think that's one of John Petsy's themes, and one of the themes of the collective collaboratory is that you just can't go kick the crap out of each other all the time. And I think there's some companies that are like that. They're old school. There's some distributors that are like that. There's some contractors that are like that. You're trying to lock people down, lock them in, limit their options, and that's just not going to work anymore. I mean, you're still going to compete with people, don't get me wrong, but you have to come together and agree to things that are going to make the product better for the users. And I think Niagara is a great example of that with the open protocol. You still have people that are trying to lock things down with proprietary protocols, but any user that knows anything right now is not going to be served by that model. And as they get more educated, if you're still trying to do a proprietary model, you're not going to be in the driver's seat. So I think it's the same thing with tagging. I think we're going to see more and more of this, of competitors coming together to work together to create a better product or a better protocol that is better for the industry. And out of that, Kenny, I think we're going to see great technological advances.
I agree with you. And I mean, just to give some background on that competition, this was a management professors, Adam Brandenberger and Barry J. Nailbuff, wrote a book called Co-opetition. And the examples of high-profile failed business collaborations are everywhere, from WordPerfect, Novell acquisition that led to bankruptcy, to the misfires of the Target Neiman holiday experiment. It is clear that despite the plethora of management literature on how to launch successful partnerships, collaborations often go bust. It turns out that where there's money to be made, self-interest prevails, and thus trumping the cooperation in the process. So the traditional collaborations fail because deep down, stakeholders assume that their success must come at others' expense, which is clearly a zero-sum game. The way forward is through co-opetition, which entitles which entities in the same industry act with what everyone recognizes as a partial congruence of interests. So that's the definition of the co-opetition, and that's a great book. And its authors are Adam M. Brandenberger and Barry J. Nailbuff, and it came out of a Harvard study. So when you go to the website, it takes you right to Harvard's Harvard Business website. So really good stuff.
Well, it is good stuff, Kenny. And again, acknowledgments again to Ken Sinclair at automatedbuildings.com. Ken, if one thing that I've learned after getting to know Ken a little bit, if Ken is talking about something that's relevant, and the fact that he's put this connected community collaboratory together, and they're addressing not only the concept of this, but they're getting it down to the granular level, and we'll talk more about that. But I think, Kenny, it's a good point to let's move on to the next post of the week.
Sure, Eric. It was Lloydtech, Building Automation Controls. Daryl Klassen from Lloydtech tells us the background to Lloydtech. It's a company out of Austria, Vienna, Austria. And everything is designed and engineered and manufactured in-house down to the chip level.
Talk about what's new and different. Right here, we've come out with another line of touch panels. It's an all-glass capacitive touch panel.
Lloydtech makes programmable controllers, touch panels, high-resolution devices, smart sensors, panels, the Mini Elvis. I'll tell you, I was very, very impressed because at the end of the day, it's so pretty and it's so smart that it's scary. It's another great product line that's going to come in, I think, and it hasn't hit our area as well as it's hit your area. I know you guys you're very successful with it right now. We've bought certain Lloydtech products because they were the only ones that really had a good, fair product that it could do the job for the touchpad display, and it was easy to integrate. They basically have too the ability to do client server. They've got a lot of stuff under the hood. Why don't you tell us what your impressions
Well, first of all, Kenny, if you look at the video, you see, and I've got to tell you, that is not shot by Martin Scorsese. It's not shot by Steven Spielberg, because it's a beautifully, gorgeously done video. The cinematography on it is just incredible. And for our audience to know, that is actually shot by Ken Smyers, the man, the myth, the legend, was behind the camera shooting that. So it is gorgeous. And their product line, I think Lloydtech, we do handle them. I think their biggest issue, Kenny, is nobody really knows who they are. Unless you're sort of like a connoisseur of controls, you don't really know much about Lloydtech, and which is a shame, because they really are, like Daryl Clayson said, they manufacture everything down to the chip level. And let's talk about why that is relevant. So if you go to other controllers, the protocols like BACnet, Modbus, OPC are all done via software. With Lloydtech, it's all at the chip level. So you can pretty much just right there configure whatever protocol you want. And even with the LAN, they've got their own version of LAN that speaks with other LAN devices, but you're not having to pay that chip device. So that in and of itself is an awesome, awesome concept, Kenny. So you got that. The touch panels are absolutely gorgeous. Check the video on it. We sell a ton of touch panels. And this particular product, Kenny, it's commercial, but it's an industrial grade type product offering. You can put it in a manufacturing plant if you want to under very, very severe conditions. It's going to work really well. They have a complete line of building automation controllers as well. They've adopted something that KMC, we'll talk about these guys a little bit, using near-field communication. So in the video, you can see how Daryl basically can walk up to a controller and he can just touch it with his smartphone, and the controller is now configured. KMC, came in a couple of weeks ago. We got some videos we'll be posting next week on their near-field communication. But Kenny, I want you to think about this. With the KMC version, and I'm not sure about Lloydtech, you might have to be powered to get the near-field communications up. So, Daryl, if you're listening to this, please reach out in comments and let our community know. But with the KMC, Kenny, they basically, in the box, non-powered, you can get your VAV box schedule, for example, and you can just go touch the top of the box with the near-field communication, and it will configure your VAV controllers and number them. So that technology is changing, and it's interesting. You got two companies that are doing it: an American company, KMC Controls, smaller company. We talk about those guys a lot, and then you also have this European company, Lloydtech. And these guys, Kenny, they're just rock solid. It's a great product. So check the video out. Let us know what you think in product. Let us know what you think in comments, and also rate the man, the myth, the legend on his incredible cinematography. Kenny, I had no idea. Who knew? Who knew the man, the myth, the legend would be so good behind the camera?
Well, Eric, if I did anything right, it's because you showed me how to do it. And once you get the tripod set up there and you hit that on button, it gets easier, right?
Well, but you got to hit the on button, man. That's the key, man. You forget to hit the on button. Once yours truly is done, then the video is not real interesting.
Well, you know what? Just real summarizing that Lloydtech, that IP VAV system, which is either wired or wireless, is incredible. I mean, I was very impressed. Tech has won many awards in Europe, and like you say, they're migrating to our markets. It's probably a slower creep than they would like to have it, but when people get a hold of it, it proves itself to be very dependable. It's the configuration tools, HTML5. It opens in any browser. And it's from Modbus to BACnet, but you can also integrate your speakers, your MP4, your radio. It'll do voice alarming. It has all the bells and whistles.
It's a stereo
IoT
system as well as a touchpad. So forget about getting that big screen TV. You can just get a Logitech touchpad and stream your movies and all. And we talked to Daryl at length at AHR. Daryl is a very, very bright guy. He's kind of a one-man band over here, so he's not able to get out as much. But Daryl is going to come to Atlanta. We're going to do a live stream. We'll keep the community updated on that, so Daryl can do some live presentations for you guys, where you guys can then at the same time reach out, ask Daryl questions via chat. So I think you're going to see that product really make a move. I think if they were better known, Kenny, they would have definitely been up for some nominations for the Controltrends Awards. Their technology is it's rock solid. They're kind of like the Bentley of our industry right now, I think.
You call them the Ferrari of the VAV controllers.
Oh, the Ferrari VAV controls. I can't argue with that. I mean, I wish I could, but I can't argue with that. So.
Well, I think it's what Controltrends does is we open up a lot of eyes and in the ears that listen to us. So I think again, serving as a pivot point and a portal for information about the industry, about products, and about the globability of a product. I think it's we're servicing, the Controltrends community's best interest by having these kind of access.
Kenny, somebody's got to do it, right? With the internet, it's either going to be us or somebody's going to be getting the word out. You're not going to hide out anymore, and this is, I think, a real challenge for all the manufacturers, all of them, because you're never always going to be on top. Somebody's going to leapfrog you, and it used to be you could just, before the internet, you could just sort of hide out and people wouldn't know. But now people, the research and the knowledge at your fingertips, people are going to make well-informed decisions. So as a manufacturer, it's more challenging than ever. How do you stay on top and have the greatest technology, the great price points and everything else? Nobody is always going to be on top, Kenny. Nobody's always going to be on top. And again, this gets back to sort of, a topic you and I have talked a lot about. What role does a distributor play in the food chain? And we've in the past been known as the evil middleman that takes a margin that they don't need to. And maybe in certain aspects in the past that was true, but now I think that has completely shifted just because there's so much technology out there. And I think the distributors, to be successful, almost become consultants. They're the ones that have got to keep up with the technology and then have to be very, very transparent and very open with users and contractors, the pros and cons for each one of the systems. And as great as Logitech is, they have some cons. As great as Honeywell is, they have some cons. As great as Johnson is, there's some advantages and disadvantages to all of them. And it doesn't mean because somebody has a con, it might not be a con or a negative to one particular user. It might be exactly what they want, but you have to, as a distributor, understand that and help your users and your contractors make an informed decision. So you have to be brand almost agnostic, Kenny, I think.
Well, yeah, it's coming more and more to those the collaboration concept and everything. All the trends that we're tracking lead to a much more informed decision. You have all the advantages of picking and choosing what you need and excising what you don't need. So the days of taking a square peg and putting it into a round hole and say that's what you get and are over, because now you get a suite of products and services that you can extract.
Well, not only that, Kenny, the days of a square hole and a round peg, I mean, now there's so many more options. I mean, you might have an octagonal type, opening. So it's all changing. But buddy, we could go on with this forever. Let's move on to our next post, if you don't.
And the winner is Honeywell Red Link.
Congratulations.
Next post is Let the Good Temps Roll. Honeywell Red Link wins the thermostat of the year, and we have an outstanding introductory picture of Roger Rebenak and the Controltrends girls smiling out in front of the step and repeat on the red carpet area. But the Honeywell Red Link, you talk about technology and prevailing. In other words, when you got to roll your sleeves up and produce a product that works and has a robust network. You know, the Honeywell RedLink is kind of like hard to explain because RedLink itself is a communication system. It's more than just a thermostat. There are many thermostats that fall within the RedLink banner, but Honeywell's RedLink thermostat prevailed in the most heavily contested category, one of the most heavily contested categories in the 2014 Controltrends Awards. The Honeywell RedLink wireless technology's ability to meet the comfort needs and provide app-connected services that yielded the greatest customer satisfaction and expanded business opportunities for contractors while offering unparalleled array of accessory add-ons increased the ease of connected installation. So you can put a lot of things onto that network. So it starts with the thermostat, but then again, you go into your disruptive technologies inside that house. Now you're connecting everything. You get the humidity control. You've got outside air sensors. You've got a whole lot more involved than just the thermostat. But it's a great product, and they say
I think Kenny, it's a great example too of a product that is just the right blend of all this stuff. In other words, you could argue aesthetically, maybe some people think the Nest looks cooler or whatever, or maybe the Nest has a little bit more of the cool factor, and maybe ecobee does. But if you look at the blend of the RedLink with that technology and the fact that you can add on to it, to me, it's just a great example of somebody that maybe individually you could pick a little bit apart, not much because it's just rock solid. I love that stat. But when you combine all the variables they put together, it's like they got the right cake mix. They really do. And so I think that's a great example of where a distributor might have to talk somebody off the ledge if they want to do like one of the other thermostats because, oh, wow, this Nest is really cool or whatever. And Nest is cool. Don't get me wrong. I think Nest definitely has the cool factor. As you guys know, I several years ago installed some Nest thermostats in my house. It was actually a video of me actually unboxing and installing it. And I was totally wowed by the cool factor. And so, I think Nest has it on the cool factor. But when you put this package together, Kenny, it's just, you can't beat it. So congratulations to Honeywell on that, man.
Well, just think, you get the RedLink thermostat, then you've got, you got your eConnect, you got your wireless zoning system, you got either the Prestige or the Vision Pro, you got wireless True Steam, you have the Focus Pro systems, you have all these accessory items, you have humidity, you have UV. So, I mean, I think using Honeywell's terminology, the forward thinking, the RedLink is going to be, a very strong component in the residential and light commercial market for now and the immediate future because of the technology that they brought to bear and delivered.
All right, so Kenny, remind me, because UV you should never ever use UV in my opinion, because there's another product that we have that we've talked about, and we won't dwell on it too much today, but I will tell you, my toughest customer that I deal with, the guy that is just no BS, if there's something wrong with the product, he'll take it, but there's a product that we have. You actually install it in your fan system. It eliminates odors, bacterias. They use them in hospitals. Now we've got a bunch of them going to the aquarium. And this guy came in. I sent him one. He put it in. He's a big. What do you call the? He's a big animal guy. Where they the Humane Society, big Humane Society guy. And he said he put that thing in. He said, in the cat thing. He said the cat thing absolutely just, no matter what, you got 40 litter boxes, it just smells awful. He said he put this particular device in, and Kenny, he said came back 10 minutes later, he smelled unbelievable. All the odor was gone. So some great products with that.
It's what ionization, it breaks down.
Yes, an ionization, absolutely. We got a couple versions of that.
Basically diffuses the odor because they're compounds that are broken through the ionization treatment, and it just basically falls into non-matter,
Well, it does, but it doesn't. At the same time, Kenny, it kills bacteria, it kills germs. I mean, it's probably the best thing that you can have for your house. I tell you, we'll do a video post on that. We actually got a bunch of them going down in the aquarium. I'm going to shoot a video on it. The Atlanta Aquarium. It's an awesome product. But my point sort of being, you mentioned attaching the UV to it, and not to poo-poo UV because a lot of people like it, but there's just such a better way to do it than UV with this particular.
Well, UV also does water and stuff too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In other words, you have hospitals, they do the sterilization, it goes through a UV pipe and whatever. So, but you're right. See, that's the selection process that we're talking about. And the cost of that unit you're talking about is very affordable. It's really, really affordable, isn't it?
Oh, it's very, very affordable. It's gonna be less expensive. There's virtually no maintenance to it. Again, you just install it, so anytime your fan's running, it's right there in the duct and it powers on. and just nails it. But this again is if you're the guy that just sells UV and that's all you sell, that's the only offer you're going to offer your customer, because that's what you sell. You don't have access. You probably don't even know about this other technology. So you have to, as a distributor, really become educated, not just about your products, but everybody else's. And then you have to also have the mindset that as a distributor, you're going to have alliances or come together with vendors that have the best products so that you can be of use to your customers. So, all right, Kenny. Well, let's roll on. Let's roll on to the next one. Again, congratulations to Honeywell. And, I tell you, one last thing about Roger Rebanek, the most exciting man in the controls industry. That was the biggest smile those Chicago girls had when they were out there dancing with Raj. So, congratulations, Roger.
Classic moment captured on Control Trends.
What was up next, Big Dog?
Next up is some more granular information around products. Honeywell's Q5024 retrofit globe valve linkage, make market. They came out with a correction that the correction to the labeling on the recent product announcement bulletin for the pricing links, referenced information that listed the pricing made markets when it should have been make markets. To get the accurate listing of make market products, download the dynamic custom price book on the B2B, Honeywell's B2B. This has been updated accurately to reflect the make status of each part. And we have a direct click on there to go, hot button to go right to the custom price book that you can download.
Okay, well, Kenny, for our listeners who might not know, because you and I are both familiar with the terminology make market. A lot of them might not know what that is. So make market versus take market. Give them a quick overview of the difference and why that might be relevant.
Well, the make market is when you have the way I understand it, is that you're doing the selling on it. You have to create the sale based on, like we were saying, the good, better, best, or the competition. When somebody's out there and they want to buy a commercial component, you make that sale. You transition from a non-sale to a sale by making the effort that the distributor exerts to sell the product. Where a made market, the way I understand it, is it's a commodity item. It's just simply
it's a like for like replacement. So I think this gets right to what we're talking about, the value of a distributor. So a distributor that's really adding value, everything's a make market, because they're looking, when somebody comes in with a part and goes, I need one of these, if there's a better solution there, they're offering it up. So a take market to me is just a guy walks in and says, give me one of these, and you give them one of those. And that might be the best solution. And so let's talk a little bit about vis-a-vis. What's important about the globe valve linkages, because this is something that a lot of customers may or may not know that they have this as an option.
Oh, well, I think it's a very important aspect now, especially we've had a severe winter here, and we've seen a lot of people that this was like the straw that broke the camel's back this winter season, and they've got big boiler rooms and chiller plants where the efficiency of the old style pneumatic, the receiver controllers, the temperature, pneumatic temperature, even though they were very, very good in their day, and they're still really good, some of these big valves aren't controlling the way they're supposed to. The reaction time, it's very difficult to keep the thing running at peak performance. So what's happening is we're seeing a lot of retrofits where the valves are in great shape. The valves are taken care of, they're repacked, they're ready to go, but the operators, the pneumatic operators, so you have to have this convenient way to take off that electric actuator and put an electronic actuator in there that either has fail in place, spring return, whatever you need, and then you match it up with your 4 to 20 or your 2 to 10 or your 0 to 10 signal, but and then you get to use a new actuator that gives you that precise control, the electronic control, a 5-year warranty, but you needed that linkage to bridge when you take off the pneumatic actuator.
Right. You got to have the linkage.
So.
Yeah, no, it's huge. So I think you're right. I mean, we're seeing a lot, Kenny, of there's still a lot of pneumatics out there. We love pneumatics, but when you can, like you say, easily convert a pneumatic actuator to an electronic actuator on a valve that's still in great shape, that's one big advantage. The second big advantage to a universal linkage kit like this is if you're in a school board, a school district, or at a university or someplace that requires bid and spec type stuff, and you're one of the maintenance engineers, you basically got 9 million different actuators around, right? And 9 million different things you're having to learn how to service. So with a universal linkage kit like this, you could basically find an actuator that your guys like, the best actuator, the best blend of price and stability, and you can learn that actuator, and then you can actually put that on different people's control valves, competitive control valves, if you want to. So that's a huge piece right there.
Sure is, because you're stocking one linkage component and one actuator style.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
that you would. I mean, you'd have different torques, and then you'd
Yeah.
have some fail in place where it's not critical that the valve failed when normally open or normally
Right.
closed.
But for
Positions.
but for a user, you're able to standardize on a particular style of actuator, a particular brand, if you will. And with the universal linkage, you're able to marry that up to different valve bodies. So no longer are you stuck with, having to stock 10 different type of actuators. If
Sure.
10 different brands, or learn 10 different brands. And Kenny, sort of along those lines, getting back to KMC, which we'll be talking about a lot about next week. We got a big video to post on that. They got a huge announcement coming out. But I alluded earlier in the show to their near field communication. They're simply VAV control, which won the VAV controller of the year last year. And I know you've, like me, have sold a ton of KMC stop signs, the pneumatic velocity reset controllers, which is a great product. It's worked well for years. As a matter of fact, our Tim Chambly just taught a pneumatic VAV class this week. And those things work great, but they're hard to set up sometimes. As a matter of fact, of all the products that we take back and send to the factory to have tested because the customer goes they don't work, it's the number one. And when they get tested, they do work. They just don't know how to set them up. So my challenge to Tim Chambly was you should make sure that customers know with the Simply VAV, it's every man's VAV controller. You should never really replace a pneumatic VAV velocity reset controller again when you can put together a package. And with the Simply VAV and the near field communication, the ease of setup, I mean, you don't even need a computer to set it up. We need to empower the service contractors to go out and start replacing pneumatic VAV controls with the Simply VAV, and then you've got the backnet right there. So then later on, the owner can either bring that into his DDC system when he gets one, or add it to his existing one. So again, another example of how you have to really be on top of the technology, and you have to offer a better solution. In the case of the VAV, because you've done this before, and I have too, that velocity reset controller works great if you get it set up right, but there's a lot of setup to it. And anytime you're using pneumatics, this gets back to the valves, there's a lot of servicing that goes on with that too, because you got to make sure that the air lines are clean. There's maintenance that have to be, and you have to recalibrate at least once a year, probably 2 times a year to get the accuracy. And when you go to electronic, vis-a-vis the Honeywell linkage or the KMC VAV controller, you eliminate all that. So you get a much more precise system.
Right. Well said. Tim Chambly does a great job. I've watched all his videos. I just recently watched the one he did on the T775 on the controlling the VFD for the chilled water system.
Yeah,
So,
it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Sure is.
So great post on that, Kenny. You did that one. What do we have up next, Big Dog?
Of that, because before we know it, there's going to be a lot of tribal knowledge exiting this industry. And we need to make sure that the young people coming into the industry are getting the benefit of that knowledge before we're gone.
but Paul Oswald is the president and principal owner of ESI Inc. ESI provides performance building solutions for automation systems and buildings around the world. Heck of a smart guy. But Paul addressed the skills gap. He addressed the concept that people are the company's most important asset. IoT has replaced the previous industry M2M buzzword, and some new technological concept will soon replace IoT, but people will remain and represent the real and sustaining value of any company. Technology changes rapidly and sometimes radically. Technology is not an end game. People must create value for their customers with each new technology to make buildings run better. And what the problem is we got to attract new talent. We spend too little time developing the next generation talent, and a lot of tribal knowledge is leaving the industry because of this. And it's not about technical training. Companies need to add talent development to their business models and use IoT, the sexy technology, to entice new talent to their organizations.
Paul Oswald is awesome, dude. We've seen him speak a couple of times. Really like that guy. He, I think, started originally at Tritium, Kenny, one of the top integrators on the planet, and just a very articulate guy. I think the tribal knowledge is a great way to talk about it, tribal knowledge leaving the industry. We heard him speak at Realcomm Ibicon, and he was talking about the fact that if half your staff's not under 30, you're pretty much, you're in big trouble. So the youth is coming into the industry. So I thought that was a great post. I really like this guy, Kenny. I think he's a really bright guy, and tribal knowledge leaving is it. And that's, again, part of what we're about. Our part of the collaboration is trying to attract new talent into the industry, make this a hip, cool industry to be in. The Controltrends Awards, we had the young guns. So, we're doing our part to bring them in. And then also, if you think about it, Kenny, with the videos, the training videos and stuff that we have up, we're also trying to capture some of that tribal knowledge and archive it so it's available in one location. So I would invite Paul Oswell and anybody else out there that has some of this tribal knowledge and wants to capture it. We will help you digitalize it. We'll help you video it, and we'll post it on Control Trends, and we'll edit it for you, give it back to you, and then post it on Control Trends so that we can begin to collect this data. And Ken, I know that Kenny, I know that Ken Sinclair is going to be really focusing in on the CCC, the collective, connected community collaboratory. There's another word I want to say, which I can't say on air. But anyway, that people pronounce different ways too. So there's going to be a lot more on this. And again, Paul Oswald, nice job. Nice job.
Well, another thing too, Eric, and we almost slipped it, but the IBCon Realcomm meeting that's coming up in June 8th, there's a Smart Building Integrator Summit, SBIS, that's designed by the systems integration and consultant experts in the industry from HVAC, IT, AV, multimedia, digital signage, lighting, security, industrial controls, all getting together. And Paul Oswald is serving as the advisory council. So the IBCon has selected several influential industry executives to assist in the overall development of this program, to lead the Smart Building Integrator Summit Advisory Council. So Paul heads it up. So that's quite an honor, but that shows you the prestigiousness of in his experience about the industry. Everybody knows Paul and recognizes him as the leader. The advisory council members are also made up of a couple of folks we know: Scott Cochran, Theodore Hauk, John Petsy, Rob Murchison, Mark Peacock, Ken St. Clair, Brian Turner, Larry Walden from Georgia, Richard Warner, the innovator, and then yours truly, Eric Stromquist. So what a team, huh? What a group of thinkers. And there's more, but I can't just go to the IBCon website, which is just www.realcomm/IBCon, and you can get all that information. But if you got the ability to get there, that's going to be a very important, I think, summit that it's going to make smart building integrators smarter.
Yeah, no, great summit there. It's great for integrators, but it's also all the real estate people. So where else can you go get educated and also rub elbows with people that are potential clients that are there because they want to discover and understand and cultivate resources to make their buildings more energy efficient? It's kind of a no-brainer, Kenny, with that. And again, Jim Young, Howard Berger, great job. Lisa Woods, it's fantastic. And then while we're on events, Kenny, I'll mention one more time, the Johnson Controls business meeting is coming up in March. So if you haven't registered for that yet, reach out to your local Johnson Controls distributor. Tell them you want to go. We were there last year. It was fantastic. We'll be there again this year, but my wife is due right around the time that conference is taking place. And I believe that's down in Orlando, isn't it, Kenny?
You know, Eric, I'm going to try to find that for us real quick, but I don't. I
think it's someplace warm, which is good.
When you have.
I'll tell you, let's just put it. We'll put it in the show notes. I'm pretty sure it's in Orlando, Kenny. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll get that done. Our Rob Allen's going to be down there, so we'll give you guys a skinny on it after the show. But I can tell you, if you haven't registered for that, you definitely want to do that. So a lot of good stuff coming up, a lot of good conferences. So we'll keep those listed on Control Trends for you.
Okay, and we have. You know what, Eric? I apologize. I do not have that on my. I know it's a lot of work being done, and we'll make up for that. We'll get that caught up there, and we'll make up.
Right. And then Haystack Connect comes up in, I think it's September, out in Colorado Springs, which is a nice place. Of course, you got the EasyIO Worldwide Conference coming up in Paris.
That's September. I think Haystack's May.
Haystack's May. Okay, so I think we'll be at that one. Paris would definitely be there. Honeywell's got their Momentum meeting coming up.
They're at the same time.
September as well. So
lots of. We confirmed that the Momentum's September 21st through the 23rd, as is the EasyIO.
I'll tell you what, that's going to be a tough decision. You can go to Arizona and Honeywell, or you can go to Paris and the Moulin Rouge and Mad Mike Marston.
Honeywell's is at Palm Springs, California. That the resort of resorts.
That's going to be nice
JW
too.
Marriott. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's going to be big.
So I guess I humbly ask Honeywell to change their date so that we can go to both.
Well, the Honeywell Partner Conference is September 20th through the 22nd, 2015, at the JW Marriott Resort and Spa, Palm Desert, California. And they've got a golf course there that's supposed to be, one of a kind. So beautiful, challenging, and the top people in the business are going to be there. I'm sure Honeywell's got a great schedule of events and a lot to learn, a lot to see, a lot of networking.
Oh, they do. Honeywell does a great job with that particular.
One final post, though, it's just a picture, and it tells it all. It's H. Michael Newman standing in front of what appears to be about 8 feet of snow, 6 feet of snow, I don't know, and maybe even a lake, a beautiful setting up there in Finger Lakes, New York, holding the Controltrends trophy for his Hall of Fame induction.
Nice.
Very
H.
proud of
Michael Newman was inducted by Ken Sinclair to the 2014 Hall of Fame Classic Controltrends, deservedly so. Mike is Ken Sinclair calls him not only the father of BACnet, but the godfather of BACnet. I think he birthed it. It's great. There's a video we posted a couple weeks of Ken inducting Mike Newman into the Hall of Fame. So, Mike, congratulations. We appreciate you sending that picture. And then the last post we have, Kenny, is Viconics winning the commercial thermostat of the year. So congratulations to the folks there. That is a good-looking stat. A lot of people sell that stat, Kenny. They OEM it for a lot of people, but those guys talk about just a sleek, elegant, just gorgeous, flexible thermostat. They do a nice job with that.
They sure do, and it's a thermostat, but it's probably a room controller because it can handle so many different things, and it has such flexibility. The a la carte style of design, you could put wireless there. You can put BACnet, LAN, the 5000 series, and now the new series. If you didn't need it initially, but now you want it, you can add that in the field. You can put a communication card in there, a little baby board on top of that motherboard, and they're just so what happens with the controller and that thermostat is that you get exactly what you need. So you're very competitive. Instead of taking a 3 heat, 3 cool thermostat and paying the additional monies and a schedule that's in it because you tried to make that one thermostat fit all applications, from the smallest to the biggest, that drives cost up. Where if you can just get 1 heat, 1 cool, no schedule, because you're going to have a global schedule coming through your network, and then you need communication, so you can add the BACnet feature to it. Man, you get a thermostat that's right on target, right on application, very specific, right on
Yes,
spot.
very modular. It gives you exactly what you want at the price point. This is a great example of a company that really understands the concept of giving the customer exactly what they want in terms of price versus functionality. So congratulations to those guys. Great looking thermostat. You sell them, we sell them. Most of the distributors in Controls Group North America sell them. So, a special shout out to those guys, to Jim Heyman, Mike Sackett, and all our brother and sister distributors in Controls Group North America. It's 40 of the top distributors on the planet, like-minded, similar values. That's cgnacontrols.net. Check those guys out. If you're ever looking for a resource in your area, your local CGNA is a great resource. So, Kenny, big stuff there, and I think we're getting close to calling it a week here, but good stuff. I sort of want to end with a concept that we have. I'm envisioning having a Controltrends TV network, if you will, where we just have videos from different people going 24/7. So if you have or are interested in doing a video show, Rob Allen does 7 Minutes of Controls. We've got other manufacturers that are talking to us about having a show that they'll do that maybe it might air once a month or whatever. If you're interested in that, you have something useful to say to the industry, Kenny and I can help you produce it, edit it, and then obviously get it out to the Controls universe. So reach out to us in comments or on at Controls. What's our Controls? So I'm trying to remember our email address, Kenny, controltrends@gmail.com.
Yep.
And I apologize. I check that about once a week, and I also apologize to the people that reach out to us on LinkedIn. I check that about every 2 weeks. I'm not real good with email. I get way too many of them. So I apologize, but I will check that about once a week. So if I don't get back to you right away, or Kenny didn't get back to you right away, don't get disheartened. We will. But it's kind of encouraging, Kenny. We've had several people that have reached out to us that we're probably going to be producing their control show and airing it on ControlTrends.org or .com. So I think, part of what we set out to do is be a video publication, and now I think we might even become a video production company to a certain extent. So exciting stuff there.
Sure is, Eric.
All right, big dog. So you I understand you got a heat wave going on up in Pittsburgh right now. You guys are up to 19 degrees, and
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Eric. It's snowing right now. We got about more snow shoveling coming ahead. We got about maybe 3-4 inches today. Again, it's not my favorite time of year.
not my favorite
And
time
I'll tell
of
you,
year.
you guys are what? You're 80 degrees today?
No. We're not 80 degrees, but it probably feel like that down here. I said if you were in Atlanta right now, you'd probably be out in shorts in my backyard getting the
No,
sun.
it's 28 degrees. We actually do have this is warm weather. We've had we broke records. I think like last 3 or 4 days. Lows in the minus 12 or 11, depends where you are around here, because it's just frigid cold. It's like Grand Forks. I spent 4 years at Grand Forks when I was in the Air Force, and it was like a prison sentence. That weather up there is just unbelievable. But this reminded me of Grand Forks. This is the same kind of no fun weather, where every time you go into a building for 2 hours, you come out and scrape, and then there's so much snow, there's nowhere to put it. All the parking lots have shrunk to about half size because they're all just mounds of snow everywhere.
I got you, big dog. I got you. Okay, Kenny. Well, listen. A special thanks to Tom Rosbach for the introduction to this week's show. A special thanks to all our listeners and viewers. We appreciate you guys. I'm Eric Stromquist. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Ken Smyers. We'll see you next week on ControlTrends.org and next week on the Video and Smart Buildings podcast. So remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.